Hello, Facebook fans and YouTube fans of DX Engineering. It is Tuesday afternoon here in the Eastern time zone of the USA. It is 17:15 Zulu on October 15th, 2024. And this is Tuesdays with DX Engineering. And this is where you're going to find a show where we typically have a DX Engineering employee on with me to talk about things that are going on at DX Engineering. Today, we want to welcome back Michael, KI8R. Michael is on our sales and technical support team. Michael, thanks so much for being here.
Oh, thanks, Tim. I always love being here.
And Michael, why don't you tell everybody about a video that you recently did that is available on Facebook and YouTube on the DX Engineering channels?
Yeah, so about a month ago, we released a video that I did about standing wave ratio, and the thing just kind of took a life of its own, and it's gotten more views than any video I've ever done before. It's up to around 28,000 views on YouTube and over 17,000 views on Facebook, and it's been on Facebook for about a week. But just a lot of things trying to debunk some of the stuff that I've seen on YouTube that was half right or not right or whatever. And so I really spent a lot of time and effort trying to make it understandable, but wanted to have a lot of good information that people could understand, but without getting too far into the weeds.
So, Michael, the title of this YouTube video, and it's the same over on Facebook, is The Truth About SWR, Debunking the Myths and the Misunderstandings. And, geez, in 1 month, you got 28,000 views, 132 comments. So, why don't you kind of go into some of the things that you talk about in the video? Sure. And then, of course, we want to encourage everybody to watch the video, but why don't you talk about some of the high points and maybe some of the reactions that you've gotten?
Yeah, okay. So spoiler alert, SWR is not at the end of the world. At 1-to-1 SWR is not something that is always achievable or always necessary. But one of the things I talk about is about SWR, and what SWR, you can see it sometimes written as SWR, sometimes as VSWR, but basically SWR is just a ratio of impedances. So if your source or your radio is 50 ohms, your antenna maybe is 75 ohms, divide the two and you get 1.5 to 1. If you're a system impedance, if your antenna is 100 ohms, then it works out to 2 to 1. But voltage SWR is just a different way of measuring everything, the minimum and maximum to minimum voltage on a transmission line. And you can see that on graphs. But basically, it's kind of the way SWR meters work, right? By measuring the RF current on a feed line. We also talk about SWR in the terms of return loss, and that has to do with the maximum, or the forward might be 50 dB of return loss, and the return might be 10 dB. So your return loss in that case would be 40 dB. So there's lots of different ways to look at it, but the bottom line is it's the same thing expressed in a few different ways. But we get into talking about impedance and how it is a complex value that consists of resistance, and resistance doesn't change by frequency, but also we talk about reactance, which does change by frequency, and how impedance varies by the load. And the load can be a dummy load. A dummy load is a wide-ranging frequency, but your antenna is specifically something that is designed for typically at a specific frequency. And we get into a lot of things around that topic as well. But we get into calculating SWR. One of the things I found interesting, and I've learned a lot, kind of refreshed a lot more than anything, being in this hobby for 44 years, you read those things 40 plus years ago and you kind of don't always remember it all. But one of the things that I thought was really interesting here is that a higher SWR coupled with a lossy feed line can compound your system losses. And so it's not just, if you have a high SWR, say, where's my notes here about this? And here it is. If you have a high SWR, say of 4-to-1, and you look at some of the different system impedances, you could add an additional 4 dB of system losses really quickly. So there's a lot of different things that we go into in this. We talk about a lot about coax, and coax cable is arguably one of the most important parts, if not the most important part of your antenna system, or probably your entire ham system. And poor coax, and I had a conversation with a gentleman last month who said he was calling to order new coax because he had bought coax on Amazon and it was totally junk. And so coax is super important, and stay away from cheap coax, and keep in mind that coax does have a lifespan. You and I had a conversation about this some time back about, it lasts for a certain amount of time and it needs replaced. And coax that is 15, 20, or God forbid older, it needs replaced. And so, and my coax is coming up on 10 years, and thinking seriously about what do I need to do there. So that's kind of the long and the short of it there, Tim.
Well, no, those are all really good points, and especially the life of coax. And if it's outside or buried, and and then how well you did with weatherizing the coax connectors. And we have a lot of products to help you keep moisture out of coax, because, as you know, Michael, that's one of the real problems is you get any amount of moisture in there, just even a little bit, and the corrosion starts on the shield. It starts to contaminate the dielectric. And Michael, I'm sure you talk about this in the video, where it's a slow degradation, so you don't even notice it.
Right, exactly.
And actually what happens, the losses go up, so your VSWR that you're measuring in the shack looks better.
Exactly.
And so it's that can be a real problem. So you're right. You want to make sure that you get good quality coax, has good braid coverage. How about braid coverage? What are your recommendations on braid coverage?
Well, higher is better, and anything that's 98, 99% or better is where you want to be. Again, be careful with what you buy, because if it's got 70 or 80% coverage, that's probably a bad day.
Right. And some of the stuff that we've seen through eBay and Amazon, and I myself got burned on some coax 20 years ago on eBay that I thought was good quality Belden coax, back before DX was doing coax.
Yeah.
And what was it? It was a reject.
Mm-hmm.
So it was coax that had been rejected, maybe thrown in the dumpster. And sure enough, it was Belden, but you take the covering off, and the braid coverage was about 85%, and the loss was through the roof. So, and there are lots of good things, and I know you talk about this in the video, on how to measure loss.
Right.
And maybe we can even spend a whole show on talking about that as well. And if you have questions about SWR or things for Michael, you can put them in the comments on the YouTube or Facebook video that he has, or even email Michael at DX Engineering, and he'll be happy to get back to you. I want to recognize people in the chat room. Donnie is Kilo 4 Echo Kilo, and he's going to be getting an SWR watt meter, so that's good. Our friend Don from down in Philadelphia, always good to have you on, Don. Whiskey Juliet 3 United. Ray over in Scotland, Germany Mike 0 Victor Radio Papa, and Barry also from over the UK in England, Germany 6 Juliet Mike X-ray, and our good friend Wayne, Kilo 8 Fox Fox. And he says, Michael's video is the best video I have seen explaining SWR. So make sure you check it out. Steve, November Alpha 5 Charlie. And that's a really good point. Losses are bidirectional. And so loss on receive, loss on transmit, it's going to affect both ways. Jose, X-Ray Echo 2 Zulu Zulu is on, and we've got from the ARRL, it's great to catch DXE today. Thanks for all you do. Maybe that's Bob or Sierra up at the National Association for Amateur Radio. And we want to thank all the people at headquarters for everything that they do every day to keep our hobby cooking along. And also we have from Brazil, Papa Sierra 8 Alpha Charlie Mexico on. Michael, you know, it's fall time in Ohio. How about Parks on the Air? What are you doing there?
So let me gush on my wife for a minute. Friday, I took Friday and Monday off just to have a long weekend. And my wife, I took her out she had an appointment. I took her out to an appointment. It was about an hour away. And I said, hey, would you mind if I do a park while we're out here? And so I picked a park out and we went and did it. And I actually had picked out several, but I chose one, trying to be a nice guy. And after I finished that park, about 45 minutes into it, it worked pretty much everybody I could work. And the band was recovering from the solar storm last week. She says, okay, well, let's go to the next park. Okay, let's go to the next park. And then I sat for a little over an hour, worked about 60 guys, had a great time on 20 and 40 meters. And she's like, okay, well, let's go get dinner. And is this place that I want to go, is this a park too? And yes, it is. Well, let's do your activation and then we'll have dinner. So 3 parks in one day, one afternoon. Had an absolute blast, worked over 100 contacts that day, and just lots and lots of fun.
Well, you know, and we want to learn more about that. Maybe we can share some photos of these activations, and then also talk about your radio equipment and the antennas that you're using for Parks on the Air. But Michael, that you know, getting on the air is really where it's at, and having fun, and maybe you know, even just listening to some of the activations is really cool as well. Well, Michael, thanks so much for doing the videos that you've done, not only on SWR, but on other topics. But it shows with the number of views that you've got on the SWR topic on Facebook and on YouTube that it is a very popular subject, and it's just really great. So thank you for doing that. I really appreciate that. And thanks to all of you for watching. And go watch Michael's video on SWR. And you can also comment there or send Michael an email, dxengineering@dxengineering.com. We'll get to Michael, and maybe Michael will be answering the phone when you call into DX Engineering. I know you love talking to customers, Michael.
Absolutely, especially the guys that are new in the hobby. Those are the most fun.
Right, and we only have a few more weeks before the snow flies, so we want to make sure that you get all the things that you need to, I mean, really experience Cycle 25 with all the sunspot activity. 10 and 15 meters, 20 meters have never been better. Yep. And 6 meters almost every day is providing a surprise. So if you aren't on 6, it doesn't take much. You know, a ground plane, a dipole, a 2 or 3 element beam, and you can be on the air and having a lot of fun on 6 meters and 10 meters. So if you only have a technician license, this is your chance.
Some really good Aurora on 6 meters last week too.
Right, the Aurora when we had the CME. So lots of fun. So get on the air. You never know who you're going to talk to. And we hope to see everybody on the next edition of the DX Engineering shows here on Facebook and YouTube on Thursday and Friday of this week. Until then, 73 from DX Engineering.
73.